So this is working out great so far. And the fact that we curved the photos makes them more 3D. You can do it flat, but given that curve, it makes it a little more realistic. What we're going to do here now is I'm going to go into the top view. And actually, before I change anything, I'm going to add a new scene full copy. And that just made an exact copy of the same scene and just named it scene.001. That way, if anything I mess up, I can go back to that stopping point. But from here, I'm going to go into top view here. I'm going to scroll in on the center picture. I'm going to hit Shift 0, and that moves the camera to that view, as you can see over here. I'll hit 7 here to go back into top view. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to hit space and add an empty. And what that does is it creates this empty point that will not render, but what we can do now is choose our camera and then shift click on that empty, and we'll hit Control T and choose track to constant. What that does, as you see our camera rotated, I can grab the camera now, and no matter where we move it, it's going to always be pointing at that empty, which is going to make our little animation here easier because we want to always be facing at that photo. What we're going to do now is go into our render window, which is F10, and we're going to set our N to about 180. That's 180 frames, 30 frames a second. So we're getting about 6 seconds of animation here for this scene. What I'm going to do now, and you want to constantly be saving, so hit Control S to save. And what we're going to do, I'm at frame 1 right now. I'm going to hit I and add a keyframe for location, rotation, and scale. Then I'm going to hit Shift Up, which jumps us to our last frame, which is 180. And I'm just going to grab this camera and move it back like so. And we'll hit I and lock in a keyframe there. So now if we hit Alt A, it plays our animation for us. So that's our animation for our first scene. We can stop at any point and hit F12 to get a still shot, see what it looks like, make sure the lighting's alright for everything. And it's looking good. Another thing I also like to add, other than just photos, is we can add something that has to do with the event that you're working on. So before we go any further, I'm going to hit space and add another plane, scaled on the x-axis a little bit wider, to make it a little bit bigger than the photos. And I'm going to move that up here, rotate it right like so, and I'm going to add a material to that and a texture to that. Once again, make it an image and load an image, and the image I'm going to load is the invitation from the party. So now in the shots, some in the background, we'll get a close-up of it later, is the invitation to the party. So that's a nice little things you can add to personalize these little 3D slideshows as you create them. So at this point, we have our first little scene, 6-second scene done. We're going to hit Add New, Full Copy, and so now we have scene 002. And what we're going to do here is we're going to grab that center point, move it to another image like so. We're going to select our camera. At this point, we can go up here and change this view to an IPO editor. With the camera selected, we can hit A to select all, and they all turn white, all these little dots in the timeline here, and hit delete. That wipes out the keyframes we set. They're still set in that other scene, but in this scene they're gone. So we can create another animation. So I'm going to hit Shift down, which brings us back down to our first frame, frame 1. And I'm going to go into our front view here. And I'm going to grab the camera up like this. I'm going to hit I. I'm going to set a keyframe for location, rotation, and scale. Then I'm going to hit Shift up to go to the last frame. And I'm going to grab the camera, and move it down like so. And I hit set another keyframe there, and if you hit Alt A, you can see our animation of the camera zooming in on another image. So we'll continue doing this, every once in a while saving, Control S, choose that. We'll say Add, Full Copy, so now we have another scene. We have the camera selected in the IPO view. We'll hit A, delete all the keyframes. We'll grab the empty. We will move it in the top view here, grab it, and we'll move it to another image. We can go down to our first frame here, Shift down, set a keyframe, Shift up, and grab the camera and move it. Set another keyframe. Check our animation. Looking good so far. We can stop it and hit F12 to see what our rendering looks like. Make sure the lighting is all right and you can see the image okay. Everything's looking great. So why don't you go ahead, I'm going to stop this tutorial here, but go ahead and create a new scene for each little animation you want for each picture. Once again, add new, full copy, clear out the animation here for the camera, move the empty, move the camera, set your keyframes. Get ready for part 2 of this tutorial and visit Films by Chris for more tutorials like this. The link is in the description.